All right, so let's get started, guys. Welcome to our MSYSA webinar. I hope everybody had a great holiday, Thanksgiving holiday last week, and we're winding down the rotten 2020 year that it's been. Looking forward to a more positive 2021 and to get rid of this COVID disaster so we can get our lives back in order and get out in the field and start increasing membership instead of decreasing. I want everybody to remember that this is a recorded webinar. So if you have a chance or you don't have a chance to come on today, you can always go back on our website and watch it as it's recorded. And if we ask you to please put your computers on mute so that we don't hear barking dogs or yelling spouses or crying kids, and that way we can be mindful of people that are speaking and giving us some good information. If you do want to speak, please identify yourself and let us know what club or affiliation you're in. So those are my initial thoughts. I wanted to report to everyone that our executive director, Flo Egan, will be retiring at the end of this year. And I wanted to thank her for her 3 years of directorship and leadership throughout the trials and tribulations of Maryland soccer. So Flo, we appreciate everything that you've done for us, and we want to be able to keep in touch with you and see how things are moving when you go back to New Jersey. I'm sure Flo has a report later on, and we can chat more about what she's up to and the like. We are going to have to do a search for a new executive director. There will be a link posted today. Nathan will put it up. If anybody knows anybody that would be interested in the directorship of MSYSA, you could send either the contact person or a resume to that email for our review. There is a committee that has been formed that will be reviewing all of the resumes, and hopefully, we'll be pursuing candidates in early next year. We are mindful that we would prefer, it's not a necessity, but our preference would be a local person in the area, in the state of Maryland, versus a national search, because Maryland is a complicated state with many counties and a lot of it would be better, we think, to hopefully find a replacement that doesn't have to relocate and is already in the area. But again, that is not the top priority. The top priority is finding a new executive director that fits MSYSA in year 2021. So Nathan, if you could put that link up, that's going to be live, I think after 2:00 today. The email link that you could send either a recommendation or the actual resume for someone who you would like to consider to be a candidate for the position. Again, our heartfelt thanks to Flo Egan for the job that she has done over the last 3 years. And we will definitely miss her, but we will still be able to keep in touch with her and see how things go in New Jersey. So any questions before I move on? If not, we're going to have Gandalf French, who's our program director, Gandalf has over the years been the director of ODP and our summer soccer academy. That was always a big hit. Unfortunately, because of COVID again, we couldn't have our sleepaway camp this year, this past summer. But we're hopeful that we're going to be able to pull it off next year in 2021 and get back into our normal swing of things. So go ahead, Gandalf.
Thanks, Mark. First of all, I just wanted to start off by, again, echoing Mark's sentiments. Thank you to Flo for all of her work on behalf of the soccer community, both in Maryland, but also, across the country. Personally and professionally, it's going to be sad to see her step away from helping us out here in Maryland, and we're sad to see her go, but definitely appreciate all the things that she's done for the game. Having said that, ODP updates, we have, I mentioned last time we talked, wrapped up the tryouts. We are excited that this tryout cycle, we had an increase in participation registration. Our program numbers are looking healthy. We have about 415 players that represent 90 clubs across our state. Obviously some of the clubs have more representation, but we have 90 clubs represented in our program, which is phenomenal. It's one of the strong reasons why player participation in the program is so good for them, is they get to see players from different teams come together, different clubs come together, and learn from those players in addition to the coaching staff. In terms of the coaching staff, we have an increase this year in terms of licensing level, and those coaches are representing 22 clubs across the state. So definitely a really good way for those players to get to see various various styles, various levels of experience, and different types of coaches in a high level environment with those players. So definitely something we're really excited for. The key word for us this year that I stressed at our parent meeting is flexibility. We have plan A, plan B, plan C, and plan R in place to make sure that we do get as much of a cycle in this go around that around the restrictions that are in place either now or in March or in June, and being ready to pivot should those change. One example of that is this winter, we are going outside instead of inside because we are recognizing obviously the health environment that we have at the moment, and we take player and staff health seriously. And so a few months ago, with the foresight of what was coming down the road, we did secure outdoor facilities as opposed to indoor facilities. But we are going to continue the tradition that we've had the past couple winters of including presentations, chalk talks, and additional off-field information for the players. But this year it'll be in the taking place in the form of a Zoom meeting with their teams as opposed to an in-person classroom session. So just as an example, very flexible. We're looking optimistically, at getting the majority of the cycle in this year. Really excited for the teams and the players that we have, as well as the staff. So just had a meeting yesterday with the regional and national level ODP, and the things that are coming down the road from them is exciting as well. They've confirmed camp dates now for this year, and we are all proceeding forward as if we're going to be able to get these programs in with the adjustments in place, as I said before, to help keep the players and the staff safe. So if anybody has any questions about ODP or any of the other programs that I'm implementing, obviously Mark mentioned the summer camp. We are planning to move forward with getting that in place this year and having it happen. Got a couple contingency plans for how to make that work, because obviously July rather is quite a few months away. So the landscape will change by then. But if anybody has any questions about those programs, please feel free to reach out to me. I am happy to discuss what's going on and what those plans to make it happen will be. So if there's any questions now, I'm happy to take them now.
Come on, someone ask him one question.
Hey, Gandalf, do we want to mention that any clubs that have not are interested in receiving the names of the players from their club that made the ODP pools, that they can reach out to to the office here, and we would provide those names so they can help to market and congratulate their players from within their clubs.
Absolutely. I'm sure many of you have seen these popping up on social media in the last few days or week or so. We have been sharing the list of players with individual clubs, along with some marketing materials that you can use to make those announcements on your own social media, to support those players in the exciting event that they were selected for the ODP program. So if you do have any interest in receiving that list, you can reach out either to myself or Nathan or our communications specialist, Brendan. So any of us can answer that question for you. But if you would like to receive the list of players from your organization that made the pools, please let us know. We're happy to share it with you.
I do know that our international trips that we're so proud of that were canceled this year are still in the works for next year. It won't be spring break for international trips, but they are proposed to be a summer venture. So stay tuned with World Strides and MSYSA, because we're really hopeful that we're not so hopeful for spring break, of course, but we are hopeful that by summer, early summer, COVID could be past us enough to be able to start getting back to some type of normalcy. Okay, next on the list.
I have a question, please, sir.
Go ahead.
Gandalf here, Julio from Pachuca. What is the diversity of players that you guys have on all the teams? Do we know? Economics, socioeconomics, is any way of having scholarships? And what is the diversity also for coaches? Do you have coaches there that, coaches actually, or there is just...
Good question.
Sure. So that's a great question, Julio. I can tell you unequivocally that we have a phenomenal scholarship assistance program, as well as sponsorship assistance program. We do give out quite a few full scholarships, partial scholarships every year. Those applications are due, actually, were due rather yesterday, and the committee from the board is going to be reviewing them next week. They are need-based scholarships, as well as we also have a scholarship program in place that supports the memory of Ian Custodio, who was a 2005 ODP player who unfortunately passed away a few years ago. So a lot of different programs in place for those players. In terms of diversity, it's a question that is a valid question. It's a question that is certainly on the minds of everybody across the soccer landscape, both for staffing and for participation. But I can tell you, for very obvious reasons, that's not a question that we ask the coaches. It's not a question that is asked of the players. I know that looking at the players that we have in our program, just anecdotally on the side, we do have quite a few backgrounds represented, not just in terms of the financial demographics, but in terms of any demographic that you want to look at. We do have a very, very wide range of players who are represented, and the same is true of our coaching staff. When I'm looking at when Alan is looking at bringing coaches on board, it's certainly not something that we're looking at that time. We're looking at their qualifications in terms of licensing, experience level, those kind of things. How many of them have worked in the collegiate, aspect, how many of them have worked at high level clubs, previous ODP experience in other states. But I can tell you that looking at the coaches that we do have, there are quite a few backgrounds that are represented from pretty much any demographic that you would like to see there.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions?
Gandalf, Julio, just to jump on the back of that, I mean, obviously we welcome, applications every year. I think we send out an email to let, everybody know. And again, from the club leadership standpoint, from your side, we encourage, coaches to reach out. Obviously, we're not changing the staff every year. We want to continue to build and strengthen, again, based on numbers, right? Based on need, but we want to make sure that there's an opportunity. There's a lot of factors that go into coaching, right? It's not just the license level, their experience. There's also, can they meet the the scheduling needs? Can they, so there are people that put forward their application, but obviously, can't meet some of those needs. So, we go through that process every year. What month would you say that is, Gandalf, that we went through that? Was it September?
Sorry, Alan, you actually broke up. I missed the question you're asking me. Can you repeat it, please?
Just when we went through the staffing and we kind of looked at the, obviously places, holes that we needed to fill, that type of stuff, when we started to put the coaches, so basically coaching assignments.
Sure. So the process for coaching assignments actually takes place primarily, the beginning of it is actually in the spring, because we do like to get out and actually see the coaches coach. So what'll happen is we do accept applications throughout the spring. We go out and we watch them run some training sessions. If they're interested in applying, it's a running application process. Historically, somewhere between the end of July and beginning of August is when we would look to plug those coaches into any holes that are because of the coach moving away or things like that. And so those coaches that we're looking at in the early spring, early summer timeframe would then get a green light, at that time for what age group they would be moving into, with the goal of being completed, that process being completed ahead of tryouts beginning in early September. But if there are coaches who are interested now, every now and then there certainly does, end up being a mid-cycle, hole that needs to be filled. Somebody moves away, their life circumstances change. Things like that. Occasionally it does happen in the middle of the cycle. So we do always encourage, whenever somebody is interested, to send their information in. I do have on file at any given time, 20 to 40 applications that, Alan and I will review on a rolling basis as needed.
Thanks, Gandalf.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions before we move on to our State Cup Director, Brad Roos? Okay, Brad, you're on.
Good morning, everybody. I hope everyone is doing really well and had a great holiday, and looking forward to time with the family coming up. I don't want to be redundant, but let me just say a couple things. One, I think many of you probably know that Flo was my mentor for the NCS East Regional Directorship, and has been unbelievably helpful to me in that transition. She's been an unbelievable stalwart and a person that has worked in youth soccer for a long, long time, both at the regional level and then also at our state level. So I want to also join Mark and Gandalf in expressing our thanks and thoughts for Flo moving forward. The second thing is, I think Gandalf put it pretty succinctly that flexibility is really going to be important. As all of you know, I am a unbelievably positive person, 100%. And so I think 2021 clearly is going to be a great year in the fact that we are going to be able to get back to some normalcy in the next several months. So we're really looking forward to the Cup competition. And so it's both State Cup and President's Cup. And I also want to remind you that we are going to upgrade the President's Cup competition so that it is going to run concurrently with State Cup. And so that we're going to provide additional venues, we're going to provide other amenities that maybe the President's Cup hasn't had in the past. So we're going to really try to upgrade our format here in the state of Maryland. Right now, I think that with everything else for the past 9 months, things are still very fluid. Let's be perfectly honest with you. I still have some concerns about the next couple months, especially with the rising numbers. But I think it's important that I'm transparent with everyone as providing everyone with the preparations or as many options as possible as far as what we're looking forward to as far as the cups are concerned. So I've kind of reallocated those and came up with 3 options that we'll be using. So if we can go ahead and go to those, please, Nathan. So here are the 3 options. First of all, in the last time that I met with you all about a month ago, we talked about the high school program in Maryland, and how they were going to try to have the fall season in the spring. Right now, that's scheduled for starting February 13th for practices, with competition starting at the beginning of March and running through April 17th. So I really feel like we can't, during the competition part of this, have State Cup conflict with that. And while I'm still not convinced that, I would say right now it's about a 50-50 shot that we're going to be able to begin games in February, both high school and also Cup. We still have to kind of plan around that, and that's kind of what we've done. So option one, that's the first option that we'd like to do, is that the 15 through 18 would begin in February. Basically, the first weekend of February, we would have the play-in games. That would only really be for, if you look at past information, that would only be for State Cup, and really that would only be for the boys' age groups. So again, if I'm a boys and I've got a team and I'm going to put them into State Cup competition, I would circle the first weekend in February as a possible play date, depending on what the seeds are when we pull them out. And then what would happen is, for the 15 through 18 age groups, the third weekend in February, which we would only use Sunday, those would be the round of 16 games for both State Cup and for President's Cup. Now, again, the first weekend, any team that loses in the play-in games in State Cup have the right to move down to President's Cup. So I probably would not have the draw for that until after that first weekend in February for President's Cup, so we allow teams to then be able to drop down. The play-in games in February will have to be played on turf fields. And again, we would ask affiliates to provide fields for us, hopefully a full day. We'd like to put as many games as possible on a field during the day. So if you're an affiliate and you have the ability to get any fields starting in the first weekend in February, please let me know that I can start scheduling those in to put those games there. And then what would happen is we would then take a break. 15 through 18 would take a break, and they would not play Cup again until the end of April for the girls, or the first weekend in May for the boys, which would be the quarterfinal round robin stage. And then they would then progress as normal through the quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals. Along with option one, we would begin the 12 through 14 as usual in March with play-in games. Again, probably not having to do with the President's Cup, only with State Cup, and normally that's only been on the boys' side. Okay, so any questions about option one? That would be the first one that we would try to do if we were able to begin games in February. Any questions? Okay, option two. Option two would be that, and again, I think option two is probably going to be 100% we would be able to do, but that means that we would start cups in April. And basically we would run a tournament format. So we would take all the teams, the last weekend in April for the girls, the first weekend in May for the boys. We would do a round robin, like a tournament, and the winner of each group would then advance to the knockout games in May. Okay, so again, that gives us about 2 months that we would begin the cup a little bit later. It would be starting with a tournament format for all teams, and then we would go into the knockout or elimination games from there. Any questions about that? And then option three, which I do not think we would have to go to, but again, to be transparent and to plan this out, is if for some reason we could not begin the cup until May, we would just have to run a completely single elimination event in May, and then the first 2 weekends in June. So those are our three options in the order that, as far as priority, option one being the first one we would try to run, option two being the second one if option one didn't work, and option three being our final ability to hold the cup for this year, which I'm sure will be able to occur. So any questions on the options? Okay. Let's now go to registration. So registration is going to open up next Wednesday for all age groups for both President's Cup and for State Cup. So again, Wednesday, December the 9th is going to be the opening of registration. That's a critical day. Now, I am going to send out an email on Monday to all the clubs and all the teams in the state of Maryland going over this information that we're talking about today. But that will be the first day that you'll be able to register your team. Basically, registration will be like last year. Individual teams will go into Got Sport, like last year, and register their team for either President's Cup or for State Cup. The only difference being is payment will not be required at the time of registration. So all you're doing is registering your team. No payment is going to be collected at that time. The reason for that is due to all of the credits that we have on from last year's both State Cup and President's Cup. So we're going to do the payments a little differently. So after the registration deadline, we're going to run a filter or a report that basically is going to give us the number of teams from a club that have signed up for State Cup and then signed up for President's Cup. From that list, we are then going to send an invoice to the club, letting them know what the cost of registration this year's cup, which is the same as, it's been the same now for 3 years in a row, $565, which includes your registration and your first game fee. So we would send an invoice that would basically include the amount of money you owe for this year for State Cup and for President's Cup. Will also include the credit that you have on your account for your club from last year. And then if you have a remaining balance, then you would then pay that, whatever that amount is, if necessary. If you have leftover money, like let's say that your registration numbers are lower this year than your credit, then basically you can use that for other items like player registration fees, safe sport fees, things like that. Or we would then send you a check back so that by the time we're done with cup registration this year, all the credits would have been used and been done with. Now, what this means is the clubs would need to determine how the credits are going to be used internally within their club. So let me use Julio as an example, Pachuca. Let's say Pachuca is going to register 3 teams this year for President's Cup, for State Cup. And he has credits for 2 teams from last year. So he's going to owe $565. But he would determine where the credits would go, how he would distribute that amongst his club. Now, I know that some clubs are only 1 teams. That's fine. It'll be on a 1-team basis. I also understand that some clubs are not centrally, do not work centrally as far as payments are concerned. But in this situation, to make sure that we are making sure that the teams that should get the credit do get it, we are going to ask the clubs that they're internally going to monitor this and make sure that they determine where those credits go for this year's payments. Okay? Any questions about that? I know that's a lot, and I know it's different than we've done in the past, but it makes the most sense, I think, moving forward for this year. So what questions do people have? Anything as far as registration or payments?
What are we doing with the 20U, 19U age group, Brad?
We're going to talk about that in a little bit. Okay, we're getting ready to come to that, Jess. Any other questions?
Yes, this is Lori with NPC.
Hey, Lori.
How are you?
I'm always wonderful, thank you.
Good, thanks. I've got a question because this is my first time getting involved with State Cup in Maryland. You said that the payment is for registration, the $5.95 registration and first game. So if we make it past the first game, then is that a fee per game that we
Yeah.
need to?
Yeah, Lori. So, and good question, especially if there's somebody new on it. So what we decided a couple years ago, we used to have one big payment that was over $1,000 you would make. What was happening, Lori, was there were some teams that were eliminated after the first game. So they were paying basically $1,000 for one game, which included registration, Zoom calls, the draw, all the things that we had to pay for internally within the office. So what we do now, Lori, is we charge you, it's $565. It's been the same now for 3 years. And then from there, you are then charged per game. So if you advance more, you pay more. But if you get eliminated, you pay only for the game that you had to play. Now, these fees are in addition to the referee fees that are still paid at the site in cash. Now, I am trying to work with the SYRA, determining if we're able to move away from that system. But right now, the system remains where, as we have in the past, where you would pay on the field in cash the referees before the game, much like EDP does now. But that's a great question. Lori, did I answer that?
You did. And I'm assuming that the fees for everything are going to be posted somewhere.
Yeah, and
Okay.
they're going to remain the same as they've been in the past, Lori.
Perfect.
I think it's for the per game fee, it's $175 per game.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Any
Hey,
other
Brad?
questions? Yeah.
Yeah, Brad, you may want to mention for President's Cup that the oldest age group is a combined 18-19 this year.
Yeah, so I didn't, from the last meeting, we kind of went over that. So I didn't go over today or put down any of the changes, but those can be found on the website on the last webinar that we have, all of the new changes and the new formats that both President's Cup and State Cup is using. Because this year, again, for State Cup, it's a U19, U20 age group. So it can be 2002, 2001, as President's Cup is a combination of 18, 19. Any other questions about registration or payments? Okay, so let's go on to the next slide. Here are the really important dates. And these, if you're going to make any copies, please make copies of the next two slides. And that is this. So next Wednesday, as I've already said, Cup registration will open for all age groups, both State Cup and President's Cup, next Wednesday. The first date, which is about 3 weeks earlier than normal, is the deadline for 15 through 18U/19U for President's Cup. Deadline for 15U through 18U is Monday, January 11th. That's critical. So that's again, 15U through 18/19 President's Cup. The deadline is January 11th. The deadline for Cups 12 through 14 will be Friday, January 29th, which is basically the same time frame that we've used in the past. The biggest difference this year as far as the draws is we will not have one big draw. It will be done individually per age group. The State Cup age groups will be done in January for 15 through 18. The President's Cup will be done after the first weekend in February for that third weekend in February. And then the next slide talks about the deadline for 1920, Jess, and that's going to be Monday, April 19th, which is the same as it's been in the past. Okay, we will have the updated rules and full calendar available on the website no later than next Wednesday. I think that's important that you can have that as far as a reference, and then you can always email me or call me if you have any other questions. As you can see, based upon the last webinar we had a month ago and this webinar, we have spent a tremendous amount of time trying to make this work for everybody. And again, look, we want as many people as we can to participate in our cups. I know we've got some clubs that are playing like an ECNL now. We're hoping that those clubs will be able to play in State Cup as well as their competitions for US Club, just knowing that they still have to play in a sanctioned league. So if you are a club that has special scheduling considerations, I'll use an example. Let's say Maryland United. Pat and I, every year we kind of go through a talk about what works best as far as the competition and the scheduling. If you have individual questions about how the schedule is going to work for your particular club, or how it's going to impact it, call me, email me. Let's have a discussion about it. I can be fairly flexible on a few things, but I think part of that has to be the discussion that we have to make it work for everybody. The more teams we have participate, the better our competition is, and that then allows us to send the best teams forward to both the President's Cup and the State Cup regionals. Any questions for me before I let it kind of move on?
Yes. Kendall, Aspen here.
Hey, Kendall.
Yes. Hi, Brad.
Hey.
So when do you think you will know whether we'll go with option 1 or option 2? Because the draw will be kind of different, because if it's option 1, then the draw is going to be the play-in games. But if it's option 2, then you got to put 4 or 3 teams. I don't know how many teams will be in each group. So I'm curious to know when, if by the time the draw happens, you will already know whether we'll go to option 1 or option 2.
So Kendall, here's the thing: as a club and a team, you should plan on we're going for option 1. That's all our planning right now is to start in February with option 1. The only way that we wouldn't do that is if the governments, like our state or local governments, say that we can't play, right? So like they say, okay, February, we're not allowed to have any games. Then that would make us change, okay? But so again, we plan on option 1. We say to ourselves, okay, let's prepare to play or start the 15th through 18 in February. But if we find out, and again, we don't know when that could be. If you remember, Kendall, I didn't find out the Bethesda tournament, the boys was the rescinded, the approval was rescinded on Wednesday morning at 10:30. So that could be the same thing. So we're planning on the first option. What I'm saying to you is, and what I'm trying to do here is, if for some reason we're told we can't play in February, then we go to option 2, and then we rearrange and get ourselves prepared for that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. That's a great question. Brian is asking about Salisbury. No, we will not be using Salisbury this year. Here's the reason why. I don't think anyone's going to be comfortable in travel and in staying in hotels. And I still think that while that would make it easier as far as fields are concerned, I don't see us using Salisbury as an option this year because of still the concerns about COVID and not showing where we are. So our planning right now is to do things on this side of the bridge. Now, I'm saying to you right now, I'm contacting Soccerplex. I'm contacting Frederick. I'm contacting Baltimore. I'm contacting Howard County. I'm contacting Rich Ruiz down in Southern Maryland. I'm contacting every area that we have in the state on this side of the bridge to find out who can provide fields. So that's why I think this year more than any time else, we're going to really need the assistance of the affiliates to help us provide fields. What would be best? Definitely a turf field. What would be even better and will help a lot would be multiple turf fields at one site. So that's kind of what we're looking at right now. Any other questions, whether it be chat or whether you want to ask me directly? Okay, thanks for your time.
Okay, Brad, that was great. That was a lot of information. We really appreciate all the hard work you're doing. That's why Maryland State Cup is always in the top in the country because of Brad and everyone who worked with him throughout the cups. Next, I'd like to have our executive director, Flo Egan, give her report. Flo?
Morning, everybody. I just want to take the opportunity to say thank you to every single one of you that I've had the opportunity to serve. My goal has always been, when I came here, was to help to make MSYSA a better place for all the affiliates, a welcoming office to be able to come into. And I think the staff, we've accomplished that. And just the mindset and open the communication lines between the affiliate members and the state association. So I will continue to, I'm sure our paths will cross again. There are some things involving soccer that I probably will still be involved in. But I'm looking forward to going back to New Jersey and watching my grandchildren play soccer again at the like Bumblebee and that little level, because life truly is a full circle. So again, I want to thank you all for your support, your loyalty in the past 3 years, and for helping me learn how to navigate the state of Maryland. I didn't grow up here, I didn't live here till I moved here for this position. So I appreciate everything, especially Mark and the board of directors that took the time to kind of coach me through, and be assured that I am leaving this office I think in a much more professional environment than when I actually walked in. So and a little bit more organized. So I wish you all the best. I hope everyone stays healthy, stays safe, and I'm sure our paths will cross again soon. And a good holiday to everybody, whether you celebrate Hanukkah, Christmas, Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate. I wish you the best.
Thank you, Flo.
You're welcome.
Likewise, it was always great to have you at MSYSA. Next, we'd like to have the good and welfare of our association. Anybody want to have any questions, any topics we want to bring up? Now's the time we could chat. Informal chat, ask away. Anything that you want to just talk about soccer related, we're here for you. So anybody have any questions or comments? I do believe, by the way, that next year with COVID, I think it's going to get better, not worse. I think with the vaccines that are coming out this week and next week, and people are starting to, take them, I think the curve's going to start going in the right direction, and I think that we will start seeing a little less restrictions and a little bit more normal soccer play. I'm thinking probably more like around March of next year, just about the time State Cup starts ramping up. I think that's going to be the time where you'll see, things are getting back to some kind of normal environment that we're all waiting to get back into. So I see a chat here. Let's see.
Hey, Mark, this is Lori. Can I ask a question?
Go ahead, Lori.
Thanks. On the COVID closures in Maryland, when the closures are announced by the county, is that just for county fields, or does that impact everyone? Are schools considered a separate entity? And can they operate and provide permits on their own, or is that through the county in most cases? Does that make sense?
Anybody want to answer that?
Hey, Laurie, this is Nathan. One of the things that's such a challenge in the state of Maryland is that every county seems to be doing something completely different and has a different way of operating. Yeah. So in some counties, when they say county fields are closed, that truly means all the fields in the county are closed. In some places, when they say county fields are closed, that means only those fields that are actually kind of permitted by the Parks and Rec Department or something like that. And so it typically is certainly very much a case-by-case basis, but more often than not, if they say county fields, it most frequently is those that are kind of permitted and operated by the actual county Parks and Rec department or similar.
Does that mean that the county permits the school fields, or is that also on a case-by-case basis? And how would I find out?
That's a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
What county are you in, Lori?
Yeah.
Well, we are in Frederick right now, but we also are all over the place in terms of where we play. And I've also been working with Maryland Bobcats, so I'm trying to figure out where they are, or where they stand, because they're in Montgomery County and Howard County.
Yeah,
and
we certainly
Hawthorne
have.
County.
We have some information in the office that we could probably help you with a little bit, Laurie, but then also we can put you in contact with people in different counties that might have a higher level of knowledge for their specific geographical location.
Perfect. Thanks very much. I appreciate that.
Mark, I just wanted to share with everybody that U.S. Soccer has their inaugural Disability Soccer Month. So they are having a webinar, and they're asking, it is an interactive Zoom training session on December 13th with activities and special guests. So they're, hoping to get that promoted, and we will certainly get that information up on the website as well. And the goal is to, through U.S. Soccer as well as USU Soccer, is to, again, promote those players with disabilities and the top soccer programs throughout the states. So we'll get that up on the website for everyone to see, and they can possibly celebrate the programs that they have within their clubs as well.
Any other comments? No other comments? All right. Hearing none, I guess we'll end the webinar for now. We'll keep you posted for the next one that's coming up. I said in the beginning of the webinar that for those that are still on, if you're from leadership in your club, if you could kindly send, and it's in the I think it's one of the first things on our chat. Could you send your updated emails for you and for your either staff or other board members that would like to be part of the communication chain for webinars and everything else that we do, because we tend to miss a lot of people on these webinars because for some reason we don't have their current email, and we tend to have the old ones for some reason. So to help us clean it up and make it better, we're counting on you guys to help us. The other thing is, we are reaching out to a lot of you to get current emails that we need to be able to send out all the information, especially during the COVID timeline that we'd like to get out to you people. So if you can do that, that would be helpful. Any other questions? Julio, you got any jokes for us?
No, sir, no jokes, no jokes.
All right, guys. Well, anyway, have a good.
Hold on.
Hey, Mark.
Yeah.
I think Dan might be raising his hand.
Yeah.
Sorry, the meeting's over.
No, I don't know. I was trying to talk to Pat on this, but I think Sean asked about him. But I just want to remind everybody about Daniel from Maryland United. If you can, you're going to see DC United. We've had a really good talk with Maryland United the other day, and that's one thing, Pat. If you pick up the chat there, but if you can, go to their website. If you haven't seen them on social media or anything, the kid is a super kid. As soon as I saw that name, I remembered it because he's been out to DC United matches, and I remember distinctly talking to him. I remember the face, but if you guys already talked about it, go to their website, help the family out. This is one of ours, who's a player in the state, young kid, super family. Go to help them out. I mean, this is a trying time for everybody, but this is one of those, not just throwing money at it, anything else you can do to aid the family is fantastic.
Thanks, Dan. Any other comments before we end our webinar? Okay, everybody, have a great weekend, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, thank you.
Bye.